Hi everyone, I'm Jack. Welcome to the official IslesDen YouTube channel. We're going to be doing a lot more Islanders post-game show and podcasting content for this upcoming season, so if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. You can also find my weekly podcast on Twitter at Isles House, co-hosted by myself at IslesDen, Ethan at EthanGSN, and Rocco at Pizza Sports Guy, all on Twitter. Thank you for joining me. What is going on, guys? Back at it. A little bit of a different show today. We're going to be doing a pregame, discussing some of last night's game, as well as having Stefan come on and join us live to give us some updates after talking to Patrick Waugh. Drop in your comments. I'll react to them. I'll acknowledge them. I want your thoughts as well on last night's rough one at UBS Arena. But before we get started, just a quick thank you. You on YouTube, we've hit 1,000 subscribers going into the season, somewhere around 900. So 2 months worth of post game shows, and we are already there. So love to see it, and thank you guys for that. Anyway, to some worse developments. Last night was, I think, probably one of the worst games of the season. I think recency bias plays a part. They had a rough loss to Minnesota back in really early November, and that's before they took off on that big road trip. So last night, game starts, and the Islanders look okay, and suddenly they're on a 5-on-3. And on that 5-on-3, Canucks defenseman Tyler Myers cross-checks a guy down, clears the zone. The clock's already ticking pretty fast, and Shabanov goes into the corner. He gets what I thought boarded. It's tough begging for calls when you're already on a 5-on-3 man advantage. Personally, though, I thought that was egregious enough to warrant another penalty. But yeah, so it's 5-on-3 for the Islanders. They don't score. They looked kind of rattled, I would say, after that Shabanov collision with Tyler Myers again. And next thing you know, the Canucks get to work on the forecheck, sloppy shift in our own zone from Adam Boquist. And everyone involved was guilty there, but the Canucks were really hounding them. And, this is a team you kind of assumed with Hughes leaving, this should be 2 points for the Islanders. This team's going to be like, going through the motions, thinking about that draft selection, but that's not at all what the NHL is all about. And they got to work, and it was quickly 2-0. And the Islanders have come back from some deficits this year. I remember against Philly a few weeks back, they were down 3-0, but there was a different feel to that game. Like, there was an element of just disgust with the 5-on-3 not capitalizing there. So I think that just kind of carried over mentally. And, I don't know what it is when the Islanders play the Canucks, but I went to go look at the stats during the game because when it was 2-0, they had a couple chances and Demko just stood strong. And I looked it up. Thatcher Demko is 4-0 against the Islanders in 5 career starts. I don't know why he has an extra one in there. Maybe he came in for relief, but yeah, Thatcher Demko is an elite goaltender and one that probably doesn't get talked about enough because he's always injured. But into the reality of things, the second period, there were chances here, chances there. But, when Sorokin can't fully stand on his head and be human, it's just the goals per game over the last few weeks for this team have been down. Chance generation, really everything from that. The percentage of shot attempts for and against since Horvat's injury are pretty bad. And, honestly, since Horvat's been hurt, they were up like 4-2 against the Anaheim Ducks going into the third. They handled their business there. They still needed a nice play from Simon Holmstrom to kind of finish the job there. But next thing you know, they're hosting Tampa Bay, and they got off to a great start the first 10 minutes. Schaefer scores, Richie scores. For the next 50 minutes plus overtime, they were kind of dominated by Tampa Bay. And then you move on to Tuesday night in Detroit. Somehow they're in the lead. Sorokin's playing a great game. It's 1-0 going to the third, and the wheels kind of fell off there. 3 goals allowed in the third period, and they They were lucky to even get a second one. When Scott Mayfield scores, it's probably you're pretty lucky to get a goal out of him. So 3-2 was the final there. And then last night, it's just the reality is when you're looking at a guy like Bo Horvat, Islanders fans kind of look at it, we're missing Horvat, but this season's Horvat is a little bit different than the normal Bo Horvat. And what I'm saying is his goal production this season is up there with the likes of Connor McDavid, Connor Bedard, Macklin Celebrini, Sidney Crosby, and these are all guys talked about like some of the best players in the game. And Horvat's name is usually not in their company, but this season it is. So when you lose a first line center and a producer like that, it is going to cause major problems. So I guess my point in bringing up those names, if McDavid's out for the Oilers, if Bedard, you're seeing what's going on in Chicago, they look like a completely different team. Horvat doesn't get that kind of same recognition. So yes, they need to play better. It can't be an excuse. You would like to see that one player doesn't affect your lineup this much, but I think it's fair to recognize the level at which he was playing at before injury. Yeah, and today, the fourth line last night had their moments of good, had their moments of bad. McLean, Cizikas, and Gatcomb, I would say that they were not a problem. And just a quick update here. Stefan's going to be joining at 4:00. I believe he's talking to Patrick Waugh at 3:45. I actually purposely am not checking the lineup updates, so I'm going to get them from him raw on the show. I hope to see Maxim Siplikov in there. But yeah, last night, the first line of Drouin and Barzell and Heineman, the thing that's really frustrating about them is Jonathan Drouin is not this 25 goal scorer. I think I don't know what his career high in goals are off the top of my head, but he's a half point per game career player, and that all comes from assists. So not all, but a large percentage. So when you're relying on him to score with Barzell, it's just not the best fit. And he wins his minutes, and I think he's been a good player. The production's down, and I think that's really in part to a struggling power play when he's been healthy. And his line mates. I don't love his deployment. And going to shift gears to Richie, Duclair, and Shabanov. This line is not working. Duclair and Richie seem to have something going, and maybe it looked a little bit better with Simon Holmstrom along with them. But yeah, I like what I see from Cal Ritchie individually over the last 20 games. I think he has like 7 or 8 points. And his points, they're not just like secondary assists here and there. He actually earns all of them. It's a notable 8 points because he's primary assisting. He's genuinely playmaking, and you're seeing him get reward for it, which is nice to see. I just saw a comment. So State of Survival, I'm going to put it up here. State of Survival, just let me know. Hey, I heard Richie's out for this game. I think he's sick. Is this true? We're about to find out because we're having Stefan Rosner, who just spoke to Patrick Waugh on this program in about 5 minutes. So I guess I'll find that out then and there. San Mateo 5-9-12. I have a lot of time for Bo Horvat, but a serious playoff team can't be fully reliant on a player of his level. So, I mean, let's think about this because I just named the players that were he was kind of in the same category with in terms of goal scoring. That's Connor Bedard, Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby. The list goes on and on. And the wording of serious playoff team, I think, needs to be acknowledged too. If the Penguins lose Crosby, they're done. They're picking in the top 10. If the Oilers lose McDavid, they're probably still a playoff team. You got Nugent Hopkins, you got Draisaitl. It's more of a compliment to Draisaitl than anything. And I know people think that the Oilers would probably be a terrible team without Connor McDavid, but I can't really get there. And plus, the Western Conference is pretty bad. You take Bedard off the Blackhawks, they're picking in the top 10. So I think what needs to be acknowledged is, are the Islanders a serious playoff team? Did we go into the season like the Oilers are the only team I mentioned out of that group that would still be a playoff team? They've been to the Stanley Cup Finals for maybe the last two seasons. So That's the difference. The Oilers' contending window is right here, right now. The Islanders going into this season kind of hopeful that they'd make the playoffs, but they're not like some guaranteed lock that everyone's betting on. In fact, more people are betting against them. Some of the heavier betting markets, all of the predictive models, when the Islanders were 19, 11, and 3 just a few days ago, 4 points up on pretty much everyone in the rear view, there were still models projecting them at like a 50-50 shot. So they needed to be 4 points above their competition and be on a crazy run really since the beginning of October. So you have a point. Are they a serious playoff team? That's yet to be decided. They need some players to step up, man. I mean, 2 goals per game, pretty much, or that's what it feels like. Maybe even less than that since he's been gone. Yeah, they just are not. They have a bunch of middle sixth forward depth, but in terms of like the high end goal scoring talent, there's really you could argue that Horvat's the only one. Maybe you can mention Emil Heineman for this season, but yeah, he's still got a lot to prove, but he's been fantastic. Um, but yeah, the defensively, I thought they were a bit sloppy last night. You know, they put in Adam Boquist, which I have no problem with because think about it before the game. You're playing the worst team in the league. You had 3 days rest. Worst team in the league standings wise. Boquist has been practicing. He's been the seventh defenseman, I think, since the Utah game, which was nearly a month ago, maybe over a month ago already. So do not blame him for throwing him in there. But yeah, I respect him getting the opportunity, but it's just not going to work because he's playing his offside. He's right-handed. He's playing with Scott Mayfield. I think Boquist would more benefit playing with a very stable partner, and there's not many Pellics to go around, and D'Angelo has earned that luxury given his point production over Boquist. So I just think if you're going to have both D'Angelo and Boquist in the lineup, you're probably asking for trouble, and I'm genuinely curious what the record is for the last few seasons of having those guys in the lineup in the same game. But yeah, so today I'm going to assume we'll find out in a few minutes that we get Marshall Warren in the lineup, Long Island native. Isaiah George was injured last night. We'll definitely get some clarity on that too. But yeah, so I'm expecting a pretty shuffled deck going into Buffalo, and Buffalo's going to be playing with a little more urgency. They're at home. They fired their general manager on Sunday or Monday. They've won 4 in a row. And this is Buffalo's actually a team. You can make fun of me, but I predicted that they would make the playoffs this year. And it's not really for any logic other than I feel like it's a numbers game. Yeah, so Buffalo is not going to be an easy one, and I think today is a pretty important game for the Islanders, considering they have the Devils coming up Tuesday, and then they're on a little bit of a break here. So you'd like to bank at least another 2 points. And my goal for them going into this whole stretch was go 500 without Horvat. That's still very much in their control. They're 1-2-0, and you got New Jersey and Buffalo coming up. So maybe try to get a win today, or a win against New Jersey. Fit in an OT loss or something. I don't know. This team forgot how to lose in overtime, though, because they know how to lose in shootouts, but they are undefeated, I believe, in terms of actual OT. I don't think they've given up an OT game-winning goal, so that will probably happen today since I mentioned that. Yeah, so they currently just got passed by the Philadelphia Flyers, and now they have the Rangers sneaking up on their back a little bit. They could be looking out of a playoff spot for this little break here. So things can change quickly. The Metro has been very competitive so far, and I'm curious to see how all these other teams continue to really thrive. I mean, no one's under 500. The Penguins have fallen off a little bit, but they're still right there. All it takes is a few games. So the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows are really prevalent this year. One comment here from Dom. Evander Kane gives us a ton of problems as power forwards have all season. So we got, I'll get to this, but we got Stefan here. I'm going to add him in. Stefan, how we doing, man?
What's up? I got a video. We're moving to where it's quieter. Everything's good, man. We just spoke to Patrick Waugh. Got a couple updates. Marshall Warren's coming in. Adam Boquist comes out. Siplikov comes in. Shabanov comes out. Shabanov coming out is not injury related. He just wants to give Siplikov a look. And David Riddick is in between the pipes.
Yeah, a couple days ago, I actually tweeted that I don't think a game in the press box would hurt Shabanov, and it's really because I think he's struggling to find his spots on the ice. Like he's got to. I think watching a few games wouldn't hurt the guy because he's kind of out there, holding on to pucks long and getting absolutely like annihilated, like all
Well,
over.
look at the hit last night. I mean, part of me thinks that he's probably banged up. He takes a hit from Tyler Myers, where again, like you mentioned, he's probably going to make a quick pass either around the boards to his right or around the boards to his left. He doesn't do either; gets absolutely crushed. And then he missed 10 minutes in the second period. So while it's not injury related, I'm sure he's not feeling great. But I do think it's a good opportunity to give Siplikov a look. I think it's ironic for Siplikov that when he's either a healthy scratch or he's playing top 6 minutes, there seems like there has to be a place for him to play. The Islanders need the offense right now. I know he hasn't produced offense at all this year, but you got to hope if you're the Islanders, he can come in there, provide a little bit of a spark, whether it's a big hit, big goal, big play in the neutral zone. I mean, the Islanders last 3 games without Bo Horvat, their neutral zone play has been real tough for them. They need to have someone that comes in and makes those key passes. When Slivikov's on his game going north, he does that skid stop in the neutral zone, waits for his teammates to come up and hits them on the money. So we'll see if he get into rhythm. But yeah, Siplikov is not that he's running out of time to prove himself, but same thing with Boquist. I mean, Warren's coming in today. Boquist didn't take advantage of his opportunity yesterday. How many more opportunities do these guys have? So I think it's really important, especially for Siplikov, to find a way to have a good game tonight.
Yeah, I like the lineup change personally. I think it will benefit both of them. One question out of left field I got for you. So Boquist last night,
Yeah.
definitely a rough game with Isaiah George's injury, which we'll get to. But I just don't see where he cracks this lineup again. Honestly, like, do you think we see him play again for the Islanders?
I think it ultimately depends on George's health. Obviously, if Warren does get hurt, then they're going to go to Boquist, or if Warren struggles, they could go back to Boquist. You have to remember, too, that it's the holiday freeze right now, and you can't send anybody down. You can't put anybody on waivers. So that's until the 28th. So the Islanders have to play these next couple of games with the roster they have. But with Boquist, I mean, he's not good on the left side. They have George coming when he's healthy. They have Warren. They clearly liked Mitchell over Boquist. So, yeah, I'm not sure we see Boquist again. I think after the fact, at some point, if the Islanders do add, if you think it's either between Siplikov or Boquist hit waivers, it's probably Boquist, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said before, it's all about taking advantage of your opportunities at the NHL level, whether you're on the offside or not. And again, the whole team struggled yesterday, but Boquist, I mean, his turnover, I mean, they don't score on the 5-on-3. That's what killed them. But his turnover leads to that first goal, and from there on, it was all Canucks. So yeah, everyone played bad. Boquist didn't have a great game, and now it really is up to Warren. If Warren has a really good game, I'm sure he'll stay in the lineup when they play the Devils on Tuesday.
Yeah, I think Warren's got a really unique, special opportunity here to win this spot in the lineup right now. I mean, it kind of is a perfect fit. So you hope he comes in there, plays a good game. Shifting gears for a second, Isaiah George went down last night. I saw the play. I saw him go off. It didn't look so pretty. Do you have any info on like his timetable or?
Yeah, so it's lower body. I'm pretty sure they avoided, like with the Horvat thing, they avoided any major damage there. Probably a week or two for him, but it's just unfortunate for George. He just worked his way back. That was game four. Game four since coming back from missing almost a month with an upper body injury. I mean, he didn't get called up early in the year because Warren was player of the week in the AHL. You had to reward him. And then when Romanov gets hurt for the rest of the season, George is out hurt. And then you call up Warren here because George isn't ready, and then George gets hurt. So it's been really tough for Isaiah George. I really feel for the kid. He's such a good kid. He worked so hard this summer to put on muscle, to work in front of the net, all these things. And he's played really well when he's played. Problem is the best ability is availability, and right now he's not.
Yeah, that honestly, I think that's pretty good news that it's only a few weeks. I was expecting it to be much worse. So the injury luck has been a little bit on the Islanders' side, a little bit, not all of it, because Kyle Palmieri's out, Romanov is out, but yeah, that's good to hear for Isaiah George. And one thing I wanted to call out is I was looking at the Isles in the Sound page last night, and Matthew Maggio came across the feed, and the guy is having a career season in production. Do we think he gets a shot to play up with the big club at any point? And what do you think it would take?
Yeah, well, one, it would definitely take some more injuries. I do think if you're looking to call up a forward, it depends what the role is. Maggio is probably one of the more skilled offensive players on Bridgeport's team. The problem is who he plays with, and also can he bring that consistency? He has a great shot. He's got silky hands. At times, he gets lost in the D zone a little bit, but he's a younger player still. And Rocky Thompson, I think, has been really good for him and the entire Bridgeport. I mean, I think they look energized. I think they love playing hockey again. They're playing much better. But for Maggio, it's one of those guys that I think he's a player that every coach would love. Hard worker, puts his head down. He's probably a fourth liner, third line guy with some offensive upside. But yeah, it's going to come down to when it's time, is he the best forward down there? Because it's clear as day, Matthew Darch, and he said this numerous times, and Patrick Waugh said it, doesn't matter if you were a first-round draft pick, an undrafted free agent, doesn't matter. If you're playing the best, when we ask Rocky Thompson who's playing the best, that's who's going to get called up. That's why Mitchell was called up. So, yeah, I guess it's more about, is Maggio hot when it's time to call up a forward? I would hope for him to get an opportunity. Again, really good kid, worked his tail off, fifth-round pick, I believe. And it's just, he's having a career year. He's got to keep building on it. I think he wants more goals for sure. And I think, again, he has to shore up his defensive play. But yeah, it'd be awesome for the organization to see a guy that went that late, that's grinded the last couple of years, is also a leader in that room, whether he wears a letter or not, get an opportunity. But we'll have to see.
And Jeffries is having a good season down there too, right?
Yeah, Jeffrey's probably, he's more not the hands, but he's got an elite shot. Again, with him, it's his play away from the puck, which I think everyone's gotten better at under Rocky Thompson. But for all these young guys, it's also about trust with Patrick Waugh. I mean, he talked about the other day about Callum Ritchie and having Callum Ritchie's has to earn trust and playing in those big minutes. Same thing with Marshall Ward. I think the biggest question mark with that LD3 spot is I thought Charles Mitchell was fine. The problem is he was playing 11 minutes a night. And I think it's clear as day. Sorry about the volume here. I think it's clear as day that the Islanders need someone in that spot that can play 13, 14 minutes because Matthew Schaefer and Adam Pelech are being taxed. I looked at Schaefer's numbers this morning. They've been down the last couple of games, but it's still high 20s. Same thing with Pelech. And I think not that you see fatigue from those guys, but you want that third pairing to be able to eat some more minutes than they have, because I do think it's taking a toll on those two guys, and they're playing a lot. So if Warren could come in there, be stable, pick his spots to join the rush, which he's good at, outlet passes, but play like 14 to 15 minutes a game. That's what the Islanders need. They don't need anyone flashy at all. Like, again, I think Mitchell was playing well enough. The problem was I don't think Mitchell earned trust to play over 12 minutes. And right now they need someone in there to take the reins there and just be able to play those bigger minutes, because Scott can. Scott can play 20 minutes a night. And I think it would do a lot of good for this Islanders D, especially the PK, which has struggled the last couple.
Yeah. How fun would it be, man, to have Jeffries and Maggio up here eventually? The fourth line's playing well right now, so that won't happen for a little bit at least. But it's good to see them progressing down there. We kind of wrote off all those prospects last year, but Rocky Thompson, his effect, he's doing a great job down there developing these guys.
Yeah, and I think, again, Dart's made an emphasis on he's going to rely internally. We've seen it. He hasn't gone on the waiver wire at all. He hasn't gone and made any trades there. So, yeah, if another forward does get hurt or they make a decision on a Siplikov or whatever it is, and, yeah, you hope that these young players down in Bridgeport get a chance, because it does a world of good for everybody. One, the player gets rewarded, but it sends a message to Bridgeport, which is you've seen already this year, that if you're playing well, you're going to play. You're going to get a chance. You're going to get called up. So it'd be great for those guys, but, again, it's more about who's playing the best when called upon, because it could be a Highmore, it could be a Beckman, right? It all depends on who's hot at that moment and really what position they need.
Yeah. Last night, a couple plays, Schaefer diving into goalposts, slamming into the glass. It's like he's playing a lot of minutes, but something I love about the kid is he is just so competitive, and it's like it's pure competitive greatness. I mean, they're down 3-0 in this game, and this kid is trying to put the team on his back, doing whatever he can. Like how they're like, I don't know if you guys got to speak to him in the last 24 or 48 hours, but how, like, without Horvat and everything, where's his mind at and how's he doing?
Yeah, we didn't get to speak to him, but that shift where he comes flying out of the penalty box, back checks his butt off, gets all the way up the ice, beats two guys, cuts the net, gets tripped, jumps into the glass. He wasn't like, he just went full speed to psych himself up to then emphatically open up for a one-time option, which he never got. I've never seen anything like that sequence. That was a kid that was trying to will his team to figuring stuff out. So I think it's crazy. But if you were to ask where his head's at, I mean, he's a calm, collected, cool kid. Nothing gets him high too low. Yeah, I think in the moment in that shift, he wanted to make a difference and he tried his best. They're going to need that early. If you could see Schaefer take over one of these games, I'm not saying he hit a wall, but I think you've seen him struggle these last couple of games, dating back to that game in Florida against the Panthers. Like that was, to me, that was like when things started to like get not overwhelmed, but I think the league's figuring him out a little bit. He struggled to be to that level. See him take as a band performing here now.
Yeah, it's not too loud.
See him take over early. Like, can he break through the neutral zone? And remember early on in the season where he's below the goal line making plays. Like they need someone. They need someone. It doesn't have to be Schaefer. They just need someone early in these games to step up because you can't come out flat against this Buffalo team. They're playing a lot better as of late. They just fired their GM. They just fired their assistant GM. So this is a team that's awakened. Can the Islanders quiet them down? That's the biggest question. But I think Schaefer plays a huge part in setting the tone early.
Yeah, the thing with Schaefer is, the 11th place team in the Eastern Conference is not supposed to get the first overall draft pick. And you've seen Bedard, you've seen those cuts to the bench where he is slamming his stick and he's so frustrated. The Islanders right now, last season they finished 11th in the conference, and that's with Bo Horvat playing 82 games. Last season without Bo Horvat, I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say that's more of like a fifth to last place finish team. So that's a little bit of what Schaefer's probably going through right now, like actually being so deprived of talent up front and the ability for this team to score goals. It's just, he's trying to do a lot and at some points it could be a little bit too much, but yeah, it's nice to see that he's trying to elevate his game for the rest of the squad and keep them in playoff contention above that line.
I mean, that's kind of his job, right? He's not supposed to be the savior of the franchise right now, but he's supposed to be a difference maker. And I think people forget when you're missing a dynamic forward like Bo, because he plays 200 feet, when Schaefer gets the puck, if they're on the ice together, Schaefer could usually make a quick outlet pass to Bo and lead the rush. Right now, you've eliminated that. I think Barzal's got to be better. I know the stats, he has a 6-game point streak, but, you want to see him take over a game. You want to see him and Schaefer rekindle that chemistry. You want to see more of those stretch passes because with Horvat out, the Honors transition game has disappeared. Their ability to break out, and I mean, they're one of the best transition teams in the league. They're one of the best teams in controlling the puck over the blue line, but they've been dumping and chasing a lot. They've been trying to go the forward check route. It's not working. So they have guys that have speed and they have edge work and they have playmaking ability. You just got to hope that they're connected to start because against Vancouver last night, they couldn't make a tape-to-tape pass save their life. And if they can't do that again tonight, it's going to be a really long one.
Yeah, I agree. And, a lot of people have been saying, I had a comment on this live stream, actually, this team without Bo Horvat, like it can't be the excuse. They got like, how are we supposed to take them seriously as a playoff contender without one player? And I kind of go to the point where Horvat's scoring at the same clip as McDavid, Bedard, Crosby, etc. And, the next man up mentality thing. Yeah, like I get it. But there's no next man up when you're talking about like the elite players in the game. And that's the level of production we've seen out of Horvat this year. So for me, it's been kind of like, okay, Horvat's out of the lineup. We're not going 4-1. Like it's just not going to happen. You just got to kind of hope for that like 2-2-1 and hope Horvat gets back after 5 games. Just want to know your thoughts there. If that's what would be your take on that situation? Are you bashing the team for how they've looked, or is it like they just got to survive this?
Yeah, I think it's a part of it's survival. I mean, it's next man up, but when you've already had to go 3 times for next man up, I mean, I don't really think they filled the Palmieri route. I mean, they were hoping Shabanov would be able to do it or Slipakov, and they really haven't. Without Callum Ritchie, I'm not sure how they would have survived Pajot being out. The fourth line deserves a lot of credit. Even against Vancouver, they were the only line to outshoot Vancouver yesterday. Like, they've done a solid job. But you need your top 6 to be a top 6, whether it's guys that are bottom 6 players playing the top 6. Like Heineman's a perfect example. No one would have thought that Heineman was a top line, top 6 player this year. Maybe Darch did. And he took full advantage of his opportunity and has played it quite well. They need Jonathan Drouin to wake up a little bit offensively. I know he just came back, but yeah, it's the pressure shouldn't have to rely on just Bo Horvat, but it's clear as day that, again, too, forget the offense. They were getting hemmed a lot, and when there's probably plays that Horvat picks off that gets the puck out of the zone. So collectively, they need to all do better, but without Horvat, they've tried to change the way they've played. Maybe not on purpose because Ross said they weren't changing anything, but it's clear as day they're trying to be more defensive with Horvat out. And I think the best thing for them is play your game. You played your game without Palmieri, you won games. You played your game without Pajot, you won. You're without Horvat. Play your transition game. That's what this team is good at. They have so much speed on every line. I think that's the way they have to do it. And also, when they do on the transition, if you're on a 2-on-1, shoot far pad for the rebound. You don't have to make the nice, complete, perfect play. They tried to do that too much against Vancouver, and that backfired.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. So just survive without Horvat. We've had the next man up 3 times. One guy, Palmieri. So we were saying how we wanted Shabanov to kind of take that role. The thing that's rare about Palmieri is like, not rare, but one element to his game is like his injury, honestly, is so symbolic of his whole game. He's going to the corner, he gets hurt, and, he's skating off the ice with a torn ACL, makes the play of the year, lifts a stick, throws a backhand pass. Like the way Palmieri plays is he's always going to dirty areas, and people wonder, like, this guy hasn't played that well. How does he have so many points? And it's because he's willing to kind of go to the spots on the ice and get a little bit dirty. And that's something that, it's not going to be so successful for a guy like Shabanov. And that's only really due to size and not a knock on his game. They're just different players. So, I mean, who do you think is the best candidate to sort of replace that production? Because it has not been replaced. And I think his loss is a little bit underrated, but that's a guy where I understand a little bit. Okay, with Palmieri, you lose him. You can't you can't be a bad team after losing Kyle Palmieri, or else you're in big, big trouble. So someone's got to step up there.
Yeah, and I think the Islanders are hoping it was going to be Simon Holmstrom. And he's underperformed this year. He's underwhelmed this year after the career year he had last year. But again, Palmieri is another one of those guys that's so underrated defensively. The things that he does in the corners down low, in front of the net on the PK, like, you want to see Holmstrom be Palmieri's replacement. And unfortunately, Holmstrom hasn't taken advantage when he's played in the top 6, and his offense really hasn't been there. But again, it's when you lose guys like Horvat or Palmieri, it's got to be collect. It doesn't need one guy's got to step up. You need 2 or 3 guys to fill that. Duclair needs to score some more goals. Richie's obviously played well, but again, Shabanov's got to be an offensive guy. He was brought here to be one. So like I said, maybe Siplikov tonight makes the most of his opportunity, but we got warm-ups coming up in about 13 minutes, so we'll see what the lines are. But Jack, appreciate it. Or IslesDen, whatever they call you these days. Appreciate you having me on, and we'll talk soon, all right?
Thanks, brother. So guys, he's at the you can find Stefan's work. The Elmonters is his blog. You can find him at the Hockey News. That's where he does his work. So thank you, Stefan, for joining us today. But yeah, going to be a good one. Hoping the Isles can cool off these red hot Buffalo Sabres a little bit. Thank you guys for tuning in, and have a great rest of your weekends.